discovering the wonders of our state's natural resources and exploring the thrill of outdoor adventure. Mississippi Outdoors is a co-production of the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries and Parks and Mississippi Public Broadcasting.
Welcome to Mississippi Outdoors. I'm Amanda Mills.
And I'm Melvin Tingle. Thanks for joining us. Hey, in our first story, we go to Copiah County for some deer hunting. We bag a big old leaf point.
Then we head over to Bolivar County for some bow fishing on Lake Whittington.
Hey, let's go.
The Deer Management Assistance Program is a program offered by the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries and Parks. And it's a program that allows landowners to work with professional wildlife biologists to manage the deer herd on their property. DMAP started back in the 1970s as a research project in conjunction with Mississippi State University. And today, annually, we have between 600 and 700 cooperators throughout the state on an annual basis. What DMAP allows, it allows a pairing with a deer biologist to a landowner, and that biologist makes recommendations both habitat and harvest-wise for that specific property. To be a part of the program, cooperators are required to collect biological data from all harvested deer, and that would include body weights for all deer harvested, lactation rates for does, and antler measurements for bucks. What that data does, that data provides information about the deer herd to the biologist working with the landowner and allows the biologist to make harvest recommendations based on that harvest data. When a landowner is trying to make a decision whether or not he or she wants to enter into a deer management program, there's three key factors that they must understand before they make the decision. Three most important factors for deer management are: one, habitat management, population management, and hunter management. Unless all three of those work together, the program will not be a success. Typically, most properties that we work with, their goals are to manage for a healthy, quality herd and also harvest mature bucks. In most situations, in most properties across the state, that means aggressive doe harvest and allowing young bucks to mature, especially protection of 1.5 and 2.5-year-old bucks.
A lot of people don't realize that if you think about it, a 250-pound buck is going to eat a lot more than a 150-pound buck. You've got a lot of mature and over-mature bucks that are never going to make it to what someone would consider a trophy quality. And those bucks need to be removed from the herd at 4 and 5 years old. A lot of times you can even do it a lot earlier than that if you can see traits that you don't want to have on your individual property, such as a mainframe 6-point. If you've got 3-year-olds that are a mainframe 6-point, they might throw a couple of more points, but they're probably going to be a big 6-point when they grow up.
Once you get a good plan for habitat management and population management, the third factor being the hunter management or people management, it's possibly the hardest segment to manage in a management plan. You must get the hunters to understand the management program, how many does need to be harvested annually, and how immature bucks need to be passed if the goal is to produce larger mature bucks. There's a few does and fawns out there right now. The management plan this year is to harvest 12 does on this property, and we're just about there, so we're going to try to not shoot a doe today and see if we can wait on mature buck and see if he steps out and maybe we can get a shot at him. Okay, I see how many. That's a good deer.
On private lands, however, we are issuing management buck tags to some of our DMAP properties. This allows them to harvest these animals. One of the things that it will allow them to do is look down the line, and it's kind of an ongoing research project, a little in-house research project, where we'll be able to look down the line, down the road, and see, okay, they've made strides on their properties. And we should start to see the size of the management bucks come down, and the size of the trophy bucks actually starting to increase. Management bucks are something that can be used on properties that are trying to do trophy management. A lot of properties are not to that level, but need to remove more bucks off their property. This is one way that they can do it, by removing management bucks.
Not really, not anymore. It's facing us now, right? He's down. We got him. It's a good deer. Let's go see what he is. Wow, what a buck. We're here in Copiah County, December 2nd, first day of primitive weapons season. Had the opportunity to go hunting on this property today. Property's been under a management program for 10 years or more, under DMAP, or Deer Management Assistance Program, for several years, and had the opportunity to come today on the opening day of primitive weapons season. But deer's about 160 yards away. Pretty good shot for the 444 here, but it did the trick. So we saw a bunch of deer. Had 3 bucks in the field. Of course, this is one of them. Had a bunch of does and fawns in the field with them. But just fortunate to take an animal like this. Definitely mature, easily 4 or 5 years old. This is just an example of what a deer can be if you let the younger bucks go for a few years, get them old. Definitely turn into a deer like this. Definitely a good deer.
I've been a conservation officer for 3.5 years.
I hired on January 2007.
Game warden is a term that many people do still use, but we go by conservation officers.
I hunted and fished since I was a little boy with my father. Out hunting, seeing other officers in the field inspired me to be a conservation officer.
Hunting and fishing is something that I was introduced to as a child, so it's something that I've enjoyed doing for many years. I was told about the position and talked to game wardens, and it really piqued my interest.
Yeah, it's always been my dream job. It doesn't just involve walking out into the woods, checking hunting and fishing license.
Water patrol is good. It's something to do that's different. It kind of puts you outside of the truck.
Through the 10 weeks of game and fish school, we're taught how to drive boats, what to look for, and also taught the laws.
We take turns on weekends going out and patrolling the water.
On most stops, we're checking for safety equipment.
Boat registrations, life jackets, fire extinguishers. Sometimes giving a warning is one of the best options, but at times you have violations that are a little more serious. We do issue citations. I work in Rankin County, so we do work the Ross Barnett Reservoir, and we also patrol the Pearl River.
We work with other departments well, especially out on the water.
Agencies that work on the water are Reservoir Patrol, Department of Wildlife, Fisheries and Parks, and also we get assistance from the Rankin County Sheriff's Department.
We're going to get out on the water more during the summertime and when the boat traffic's higher.
Usually on holidays it's very crowded, and we do need a lot of enforcement presence on the water.
It requires a lot, but if you're determined that's what you want to be, it's one of the greatest jobs in our state.
Coming here is doing something that I really like, and it wasn't a hard decision to make.
Folks, I'd like to welcome y'all to Lake Whittington tonight. We're going to be doing a little bow fishing. I'll be with my good friends Calvin Summers and Jody Acosta. Lake Whittington, the oxbow of the Mississippi River. We hope to go after maybe some gar, some carp, some buffalo, and see what it's all about. All right, it's an American Airboats Air Ranger. The specs on are 18 by 8. It's got a 32-inch transom, the neck's down to 28 inches in the front. It's powered by a 496 levitated marine engine and a whirlwind prop. We had to start a business to pay for it, but it does the job. It does the job. The fish Calvin just shot was a grass carp, also called a white amur. They're non-native fish originally from Asia. They originally brought in back in the 1800s as a source of food. They're quite frequently used for control of aquatic vegetation. You've got what you call a triploid grass carp, which is sterile, it can't reproduce. However, here at the Mississippi River system, we have diploids, which can. They're very similar to the common carp. One of the easiest ways to tell them apart is the lack of a barbell on the bottom jaw of a grass carp, and it's also got a little more of a white tint to it. This lake generally consistently produces a lot of fish. With the Mississippi River being high this spring and early summer, a lot of different factors play into it, such as how high the water is, how fast it's falling. That's going to influence things like how muddy the water is, whether the fish are in the shallows or whether they're not. But generally, this lake always produces good fish. We'll be shooting long-nosed gar, a few spotted gar. We'll also get into, from time to time, you can get into some Asian carp, the bighead carp, the silver carp, and also the buffalo. It's been an okay year. One would think with a high Mississippi River there'd be a lot of floodwaters, but it also makes access very difficult to get in these lakes. We've also had a lot of rain this spring. It's kept a lot of the interior Delta lakes real muddy, but we have had some awesome nights this year. I was introduced or encouraged to get into it by my uncle, my dad, and some of their friends that used to bow fish back in their younger days. And just recently, I believe it was 3 years ago, a group of us got together and formed the Bow Fishing Association of Mississippi. We started out about 3 years ago with, I think, around 18 or so charter members, and it's grown tremendously over the past 2 years. We're up around the 60-member mark, if I'm not mistaken. We've got scheduled tournaments that we shoot throughout the year. We've got a big one coming up in August, River City Classic out of Vicksburg. Well, to me, it combines the action of a dove hunt with the challenge of bow hunting. And being on the water at night is something else I really enjoy. You see things at night under these lights that you don't normally see. It's kind of a window to the world underneath the water.
Next, we head down to the Gulf of Mexico for some deep sea fishing aboard the Miss Hospitality.
Hey, Melvin, you've been fishing aboard the Miss Hospitality before, haven't you?
Right, Randy. In fact, that was the very first charter boat the Mississippi Outdoors fished on. And I tell you, great people, good food. We just had a great time. Hey, let's go.
Been in the business since 1960. Me and my daddy started the business, and I've been doing it full time since 1973. And me and my daddy built this boat in 1983. Fishing right now, to really pick up the boats that'll be trolling today, they catching quite a few kings and Spanish and a few redfish and jacks, stuff of that nature. And you know, like when we go snapper fishing, we go on a 10-hour trip, and they've been doing all right, pretty good snapper fishing too. You gotta love it. I mean, when you get a fish on and the captain don't get excited, he doesn't have his heart in it.
How's the fishing been most of the season?
It was a little slower when we had all this west wind and dirty water. Now the water's getting pretty and the kings are showing up, and like the redfish is underneath the mackerel and stuff. You know, it's improving every day.
Ooh, that's a nice fish. What is that?
Jackfish. We call them a family fish. Take the whole family to get one in.
What is that, Cap?
A jack crevalle. They ain't good to eat, but they're a lot of fun to catch.
How do you find these fish? With the birds and the finder?
Well, the birds is a big help, and the bait over the top of them, and a lot of times you see these black-tip sharks jumping, and that's a good indication of redfish. And you know, just go out there and just pull your baits, you know, and see what's up.
Got down on it, Jordan. Oh, that fish gonna die of old age, man. That doggone ain't gonna win. All right, Bridget, we're gonna see it.
Last trip we came down the year before Katrina hit and had an extremely good time, caught a lot of sharks. Went back home, just had to tell everybody about it. So we brought back a lot of kids, family, friends with their kids and everything. Just get away from home, short trip vacation. We couldn't afford to, like everybody else this year, go on a big up in the mountains trip or whatever. So hey, come down and spend a day with Captain Kenny. Yeah. They're having a good time. We love this. One thing down here, all the motels, hotels stay so busy, everybody overlooks the state park system. There's a lot of cabins for rent. They're scattered all over the state. Very, very nice places to stay. You can go out, real family-oriented places. We booked in up at Paul B. Johnson at Hattiesburg, and we had about an hour drive down here this morning and got a little breakfast and came on out.
Okay, Mike.
Hey, that's all the time we have for this week. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Join us again next time for more exciting adventures. Until then, I'm Amanda Mills.
I'm Randy Newell.
And I'm Melvin Tingle. See ya outdoors.
Stand by.
Okay, take it from the top. Hey, that's all the time we have for this week. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Join us again next time for more exciting adventures. Until then, I'm Amanda Mills.
And I'm Randy Tingle.
And I'm Melvin Jones.
Why do I have to be myself then?
Stand by.
Things happen, don't bad things happen in threes? Isn't that how the old saying goes?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, why do they always happen in eights for me? Because I'm on number 7 right now. I got one more bad thing to happen.